guys, welcome to Slide Science. We're going to do a real quick video covering my sim setup, what I have, why I use it, recommendations if you're starting, and kind of how this correlates to in real life. And then I'll cover on the end of the video kind of some in-game settings you need to pay attention to when you're setting up. I'm not going to give you my settings. I can share those later in a file. I'm not going to waste your time going through them, but I'll do a quick overlay of showing like what menus you need to pay attention to and what matter in a set of Corsa. So starting out, I have a Moza R9 base with the Moza, I think they're called CSP pedals. They're like load cell, but cost of value, they're very efficient. I have a like $90 Amazon handbrake I've had for I think 4 years now, and it's still fine. As long as you don't slam it, it's good. I do have the Moza H pattern shifter. I have a random button box I got off Etsy to just program a few things, and then a track racer rig with three 27-inch triple monitors running 1080 for the sake of the GPU and being able to render more frames, not necessarily the quality. Then I have a full built gaming computer that you need a decent CPU and GPU on to be able to run it, especially on triples. So why I chose the Moza, I came from a Thrustmaster T300, which is a good starting base. It worked great for years. However, they wear down and you're kind of limited on how you're going to mount it in upgrades, and it does start to wear out over time. So I used that for probably 5 years, paid $300 for it, and I kind of mixed and matched parts. And then finally I was like, you know what, let me get something that's more comfortable, more reliable, it's direct drive and cost. So I got the Moza R9. I will tell you this thing will break my arms if I max out at 9 Newton meters. I don't remember the exact cost, you can look it up, but for the price, it's very worth it. And it's very open to what you get. The shifter wasn't very expensive, neither were the pedals for what I get. There is a more base set of pedals you can get with it. And the steering base, it comes off. I have a Moza quick release I got for it, and then a NRG simulator wheel. The reason you use a simulator specific wheel or go on eBay and buy a cheap fake wheel. You don't want to use a real wheel because they weigh so much, so it's harder on your base. So you use a sim wheel. NRG makes a great one because it's very light and it's not going to put a lot of wear and tear on your base. You can also get other wheels. Like I have an F1 wheel, I think that came with it, that has like a bunch of gauges and stuff on it. It's cool. The track racer rig that I got, I think is the TR80. I think I paid around, I think it was like $800 all set together. But that's because I got all the mounts and how everything sets up. It's very comfortable. I have a cup holder, plenty of room to add more stuff. The seat reclines, and I am using an NRG Prisma FIA seat with the halo. You don't need it. This was supposed to go in my car. I didn't like it because the seat position in my arm, so I didn't use it, which goes into my tips. If my arms were restricted, I wouldn't use it. So it's on here now instead because I have nowhere else to use it currently. That's kind of my setup. For the triples, you do need a really good GPU, so don't buy a cheap computer and then get everything set up and then realize that the computer can't run it, and now you got to go spend more money. So if you have questions, drop a comment, message me something. I'll be willing to help you with recommendations on getting set up. And with that being said, we'll now go into the computer setup, what programs you need, kind of some settings to pay attention to when you set yours up based off what you have, and then that'll wrap up the video. So building off of my actual setup, what I have, I'll kind of discuss a few programs you need and kind of look at my setup. So first thing, when you set up your simulator, you're going to need Steam. That's what you play Assetto through. You're going to have to actually physically buy Assetto Corsa. You don't need anything fancy. I think it's like $20, but buy Assetto Corsa and you're never going to run it again. From there, you'll download Content Manager. It'll be the free version, and then you're going to want to go up to the top and click like pay for full version. I think it's $5, but that allows you to get all the add-ons, graphics, whatnot that you're going to use. So for setup, once you have the game, first thing you want to do is either copy someone else's settings. If you're using a Moza R9, I'll gladly share you mine in my in-game settings, but find someone, watch a YouTube video, or find it on the internet, but find your wheelbase settings for what you're trying to do for drifting specifically. You can see I have 2 different setups here that are saved. And there's a lot of numbers in here. I'm not going to go in the weeds on these. That's more of an advanced video that there's plenty of content out there for. But all these matter on how the wheel drives. I recommend trying to get them from someone that actually drives in real life, so it's not set up to drive like a video game, and to drive more like a realistic car, which I see a lot of. It should be moderately easy to drive because a well set up car is easy to drive. Unless you're trying to drive it hard, then you need to physically drive harder and use more technique. So your settings really matter. For the Moza, I can do what my wheel has. Obviously, I don't have this one on, but like you can set up, depending on the wheel you have, my pedals individually, my curves, throttle. You can set your shifter up to program it for H, whatever you want, etc. So you'll have Moza, Fanatec, whatever your software is for your wheelbase, set that up first. Then go into Content Manager. And once you're in here, you're going to go to Controls and start here. And you're going to want to adjust force feedback. Same thing, get the settings from someone or test these. These are very important to how it drives just as much as your actual app is. Axis is where you'll go to program them. Something to highlight here is most people don't tweak this, but like I play with my from and to, which is basically like a threshold, so that my brakes function how I want them to do to match my car, the clutch, and the handbrake. I have a hydro in my car, so I like it to be 7 to 16%, which means like 3 inches, you can see it goes full engagement. Just little things like that to make it more realistic and more gauge to how a real car would drive. Once you get kind of your wheelbase setup stuff, the best thing you can do to make it look good and enjoy, custom shaders patch, download that, click install on it, make sure you're on the most recent update. This is where if you're on a single monitor, you have neck effects, you can set it up to kind of rotate like it does in my replays. Since I don't stream all three, you can play with your reflection, skid marks, shadows, all kinds of stuff. It's great. You can play with weather. And there's triple, how you set up your triple monitors. There's all kinds of stuff you can do with this. Recommend watch this video is what you want, but that's kind of the basics of it. And as far as graphics go and how it looks, I highly recommend. A lot of people use SLL. I use Pure. It looks a lot better. I get a lot more frames out of this, and it's very easy to use in game. And you can change it per track and save how you tweak the graphics to look as far as sun rays, lighting, whatever it is. It's basically like editing a picture. It looks good. I'll use that. And then going into your video settings, another big one. You can see I was getting 185 frames per second. I capped mine at 185 for my monitors. That's on triples with a 3080. So, make sure you get a computer that can push triples if you're going to get them. If you run a single, you can probably be better. I don't run 1440 because it's more demanding on triples. So I run, or 4K, I run 1080 on triples at 27 inches. Triple screens, make sure this matches your displays, set up your quality how you want. Just keep in mind shadows, smoke, reflections, and heat shimmering and sun rays will eat up a lot of frames. So typically I don't use them because I'm trying to drift in here. I'm not really trying to worry about filming or just how it looks. It's more or less how it handles and drives. So the better frames, the more realistic it feels. So that's kind of how I set mine up. As far as car packs and tracks, there's a plethora. There's plenty of websites. If you're looking for something to practice on because you're new, what I teach in here is Nevada Fright Depot. I put everyone on the sim and teach them there in real life as well. Because it's wide open, you can use the barn as kind of a perfect U-shaped turn. I can show replays and show them or reverse understeer basically on a third party out of. It's a great for beginners. Car packs, if you're new, you get Tando buddies. You can use a stock car if you want to use something with no angle. The BDC cars are great. The V4s were awesome. The V6s are out now. They're awesome. You can get them on Boston. And then currently, I drive my car here, which is delivery pack, which is kind of a blend we put together. Livery Delivery, the guy that makes them, who does design mine, we designed my car. And it's physics. All the cars he's ever done are in here, as well as none of them are the same. So it's a fun car pack. You can download that too. Some of them are high horsepower, SR, JZ, whatever. Ultimately make it fun, but make it somewhat realistic if you're just learning. Only other thing really on technique or setup in here is, I run mine on practice. You can run drift as well. I just prefer practice. Tire blankets, I don't want my tires to wear out or blow. Weather, I run on Pure. You'd run SOL if you match that. Optimum track, and then you go do it. If you're going to play online, you got all your servers. Depending on who you're playing with, what you're doing, you can search by names. Kind of your overall basic setup. If you're looking for more detailed stuff or you need help, by all means, give me a shout out. I've actually set up probably 6 of my friends' computers with this. I'll just tap in on Microsoft Assist or Discord and talk them through it. I do have a Discord I'll be using for coaching in the future, or just driving together on servers. We're on all the time, but I do enjoy teaching, so I will have a server and in the future kind of doing coaching and helping people. Also, kind of on top of this, we have all these apps in here and stuff. This is something to pay attention to. And I'll end it with this. These are your in-game apps that a lot of people don't know about. When you go in the game, you go to the right side and you'll get 4 little bars. For different menus, you can play in-game apps to do certain things, tweak your force feedback, driver's eye position, right? That's how I show my pedals in the replays. That's how you put the drone camera on, all kinds of stuff. So it's kind of my basic setup. It is obviously dialed to me. It's what I prefer, but I like it to be somewhat realistic, but still fun and enjoyable. Ultimately, I'm using it to practice techniques and master the skill set. It's not going to be 100% perfect. And that pretty much covers it. So if you have any questions, drop a comment. Like if you appreciate it. This is just kind of an overview before I start showing you the instruction video, so you kind of understand what setup I'm on, and how my settings are, what I'm using, so it's not kind of just me throwing together a video and you have no clue what I'm driving on or understand what I'm using.